All right, welcome back. We're here for the second video. In the first video, we watched the literary section of the individual oral. We're going to model the non-lit for you here. As we do, Ms. Naidu is going to tell you about criteria A.
I think looking at your choice of quotations is very, very important. Make sure you choose something that's very powerful and very relevant, links closely to that extract you have chosen, and more importantly, can link to the entire body of work and show your understanding of your global issue.
With criteria B, make sure you're analyzing the author's choices and also that effect on audience.
Once again, we remind you of time management. There must be that balance between what you talk about in the extract and how much time you spend on the body of work as well.
And with academic language, look for variety of language. It's not as highlighted in the video, but there's very little repetition of this shows, this shows, this shows, that's avoided. And also there's very little verbal filler, very little and ah. Should we go to the video?
Yes, please.
As I move into my non-literary work, which is the movie Gandhi, Richard Attenborough's movie, I'm going to focus on the scene where Gandhi has returned to South Africa after completing his training to be a lawyer. And in that scene, he is thrown out of a train, even though he has a ticket because he is Indian. And one of the first things that's immediately evident in that scene is that Gandhi's identity has not been formed within a racist society. He believes that he belongs in that car because he's bought the ticket. And when he comes face to face with open racism, he is shocked, confused, and he begins explaining to the train operator and the white man on the train that that he has a ticket, and he begins speaking to them as if he is a teacher. He has a pedantic tone, and he says on line 30, I am, therefore, an attorney, and in your eyes, colored. I think we can deduce there is at least one colored attorney in South Africa. And the way he is speaking is completely out of context in this racist society, and you can see the shock on the black porter who is dealing with the luggage, who has never heard someone challenge racism openly in this way in his life, in his society. So Gandhi's tone really conveys to the audience the lack of logic of racism. The audience, the modern audience, really identifies with Gandhi and is outraged by the racism shown in this scene and wants him to be able to sit in the place where he bought his ticket for. I think that's a great sign of progress, and I think if anybody who was openly racist were to watch this movie, they would be subtly challenged to rethink their own beliefs. But the racism continues, and in line 35, we have the conductor turns to Gandhi and says, just move your black ass back to third class or I'll have you thrown off at the next station. You can see there's a pejorative, an open threat, a commanding tone, despite the fact that in most societies you would put a train conductor probably at a lower social rank than a lawyer, but race trumps all other concerns in this particular incident. And the result is that Gandhi is thrown off the train. Again, the audience is completely in sympathy with Gandhi, and it highlights the injustice of the situation, and the way that a racist society can take somebody who is brave and courageous and punish them for that bravery. Similarly, in the body of work, in the scene following, Gandhi is sitting in a room full of businessmen, and he says to one of them, but you are a rich man. Why do you tolerate it? And the man named Khan turns to him and shrugs and says, I am rich, but I'm Indian. And the body language, the shrug, shows his acceptance of the situation. also the wealth in his surroundings displays that acceptance of racism allows some to succeed. There's a material benefit in accepting the status quo, even for those who are discriminated against. But Gandhi is brave and challenges that, and in that way he inspires the audience to question themselves and what parts of their own society do they accept that perhaps they should have more moral outrage about and stand up and speak out against. And with the scene following, Gandhi begins burning ID cards that were required to be carried by Indians. He's burning them in public. And he holds it up and he says, "This is a symbol of our status. It's embodied in this pass." And then he drops it in the fire and burns it. And a policeman begins beating him. And as he's being beaten, he continues to put the cards into the fire. He stands up and the policeman keeps beating him. It shows the courage of Gandhi. Of course, symbolically, it shows him burning the power that the racist society controls because he's burning the passes that they issue. And it encourages all in the audience to be courageous and to challenge injustice in the world around them. Both works explore how racism limits identity and that imply that the outrage should motivate action in the audience to challenge these societies.
Okay, so you've seen the literary extract analysis and body of work, the non-literary extract analysis and body of work. For the overall timings, we look at it, the introduction was about 51 seconds, the lit analysis was around 4 minutes, the non-lit analysis was around 5 minutes, and the conclusion was around 15 seconds for this modeled one.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice, though, that you spent about 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the non-lit? Do you think that's okay?
I did notice that, and I noticed the timing in the oral. I think it could have been a little bit more concise, but I really made sure that I did directly hit the body of work in the non-lit work when I talked about Gandhi and the rich man's house. So I made sure that it was still there, but perhaps that could have been managed a tiny bit better in my oral. So next we have the Q&A, and in the Q&A I make sure I show more understanding of another part of the body work with the Amritsar massacre, because I actually had that prepared, but I didn't get to it in my 10 minutes.
Well, let's move to that one then.
All right.